What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are talking about BCHG, LTCN, GSOL, and FILG today at the request of disgruntled Canadian investor Shakester and Paul O. BCHG, LTCN, GSOL, and FILG. Let's get into it. Let's not waste too much time. Hit that like button, you guys. Subscribe if you want to see more content like this. I will say on a daily basis for BCHG, this really does look like an inverse head and shoulders. Like left shoulder here, head, right shoulder yet to fully form. Right shoulder tends to be smaller than the left shoulder, right? So that's to be expected. It could break out here. It doesn't need to take as long as the left shoulder did to form. And perhaps this whole segment here isn't the whole left shoulder. It depends on the interpretation, I guess. But besides trying to interpret this, regardless, it does seem bullish in nature. Volume is dying off. That was the worst line ever. But volume is. I swear I'm not putting that curve in there. I'm drawing it straight down, man. It does a curve. I don't know. It does a curve up or it does a curve down. It won't let me just draw straight. Anyways, volume is dying off. We are coming to maturity, I think, in this range of consolidation here. And I think that does mean that we're ready to break out. Whether it's to the upside or the downside remains to be seen. Again, this kind of shape overall, it makes me think that we are going to move to the upside, but that remains to be seen. I do believe that the crypto space as a whole is bullish right now. I do believe this is the low. It's really hard for me to imagine that this would break out to the downside. For if it does, likely, like very, very likely, that would mean that we're going to see a low that's lower than this low. And I just don't see that happening right now. Not with BCH moving higher, not with the overall crypto space seeming to get a bullish hit of hopium over the past couple weeks, the past week specifically. I just can't see it happening. So I do think it is appropriate to take this high to this low and measure out from here, right? First and foremost, you've broken above your 236, okay? You've broken above it, generally speaking, almost always, okay? And I say almost always. It's like 70 to 80% of the time. When you move above your 236, you will at least go to your 382. What I mean by this is, if you were, let's pretend that I'm wrong and you're not going to go higher from here, you're not breaking out. Let's say that you were still going lower, you've yet to find your low, and I'm wrong in that sense. Well, if I'm wrong, then you would at least, likely, statistically speaking, at least move up to the 382, right? Because when you're above your 236, when you have, I don't care that you went above it and went back below it and now you're back above it again. When you go above it at all, period, you generally at least will go to your 382 before continuing the trend down. Now, I don't believe we're going to continue the trend down, but I'm just saying, even the bearish people right now, like statistically speaking, we're at 695. We have a very strong likelihood of sealing this gap here, moving to 842 before we do anything else, moving up, moving down, whatever, right? And I do think we're going to move up. I personally believe not only will we hit 842, but we'll probably go just a little bit above there, as is the common thing to do when interacting with your 382 for the first time, right? You do go just above it. I would like to see us close above the 382 and consolidate above it. That way we're ready to move up higher, rather immediately. But if we find resistance here and we come back down and find support on the 236, that's very normal too. So for all the bears out there who are like, okay, so we just got to go up and then we go down, just because we reject this area does not mean that we're going to go below this low. In fact, it's very common, again, to find resistance here and go down to the 236, okay? So just keep that in mind. Don't get sad. Don't get discouraged. If you're a bull that we go down here, don't get too excited if you're a bear that we're moving down from the 382, right? We don't have to do any of that, right? If this is an inverse head and shoulders, can you guys hear me? Yeah, you can, okay. My mic blinked at me for a second. Anyways, if this is to be interpreted as an inverse head and shoulders, likely your breakout would not stop here. It would probably stop, if we were just doing a rough measurement here. I know I curved it, but I went from the low to the high. So it's the overall distance, right? If we're going to the break from the low to the high, it'd be up here, right around your 61869. And that makes sense, right? If you're not going to stop at your 382, you're probably going to go to your 61869. And you could break out of this, find resistance or turbulence around your 382, and still overall have your measure move take you there. You know what I mean? You don't have to just move straight up here, even though your measure move is technically just below this, if this is an inverse head and shoulders. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But let's interpret it as such so we can get the measure move out there. with that measure move, it roughly puts us right at our golden ratio, okay? If you were to break through this 382, right, we've been consolidating under this zone for a while, it would make sense that you don't just break above it and stop there, right? You'd probably keep going. But sometimes, and also what's very common, is breaking out, consolidating after the breakout, pulling back to the breakout point, whatever, and then moving higher. You know, something like that. It might not be a perfectly straight line, but more or less, you know, like we can see that move probably up to like 1250 over the coming weeks, I would think. I would think that with crypto getting bullish, whenever Bitcoin Cash makes its move, whenever the underlying assets for these Grayscale trusts make their move, obviously we will probably see the Grayscale trusts make their move as well, right? Just because Bitcoin Cash moves up does not mean BCHG has to move up. You know, they are pretty correlated, but they're not directly tethered. However, I would expect that on this next leg up for BCHG would definitely catch a whiff of that wind and sail on to new highs. I don't know what I'm trying to say here. Anyways, next target area is 1250. Essentially, I suppose the actual next target area would be the 382 at $8.42, probably above there. Let's say like $9, okay? $9. Fill this gap, consolidate, and then move up. But really, I'm focused on this 1250, 1412 area. Let's see how we interact with that. At that point, when we have a move like this, we've clearly broken out of this downtrend here, and I think that there's no debating that we're going to see new highs from there, right? New highs relative to this high. Obviously, new all-time highs as well, I think, are going to come too, but these extensions are at 3750 to 6710. Worth noting, though, I don't think we should focus on them until we're above the 618. Okay, so for right now, 842, 1252 to 1412. Those are the zones. This is probably over the coming days, over the coming weeks. This is probably over the coming weeks, over the coming month. I wouldn't even say multiple months, like coming weeks to a month, something like that. Like it's going to be a very short amount of time, I think, that we see this price happen. Probably in October, yes, probably. This, however, I mean, this could be, tomorrow's the 29th. This could be over the next 2 days. Who knows? Maybe it's to end the month out. Maybe it's the first week or the second week of October. But sometime very soon, I would think we see this zone. Anyways, that's all I got for BCHG. Let's move on to LTCN. LTCN. And by the way, Anna Shea, if you're watching this one, I haven't forgotten about you. I'm going to compare BCHG to ZCSH, just not in this video, okay? I promise I haven't forgotten about you if you're watching. High to low here, 236 resistance, 069 support, up above the 236. Again, generally, not always, but generally, when you break above the 236, it doesn't matter if you go back below it or go back above it, whatever, but when you break above it, you look to hit this 382 at least before going lower. So even if you are a bear, even if you're not convinced that's the low, statistically speaking right now, we have like a very solid chance, especially with the way it looks right now. I'd say an even greater than 80% chance right now to at least see 1821, if not higher. Again, likely on the first attempt to the 382, after a whole fib range is formed, you likely do go up above it a little bit. So you could see prices as high as like $20 even, right? Something like that I think is worthy, or not worthy. Of course it's worthy. I don't know. It's possible. That's the word I was looking for. I don't know how I got that confused, but daily RSI looks really good. Definitely looks posture to the upside. I love it. I love that you're hanging out in this bullish area of control here. Holding above the 236 definitely looks like you want to go higher. I don't think you stop at the 382, but that is the next area to focus on. You're at 1517 now. 1821 is the next target, but ultimately I think this $27.60, $27.66 range to 31.43 right here, that's going to be a very important area to focus on right after the 382, because what we do here determines what we do up here, right? If we get up here, in my opinion, at least it does. But that also, what we do here is kind of determined by what we do here. So we'll just see. We'll figure it out over the coming days and weeks, right? I would say it's a very similar time frame for both the 382 and the 61869 for LTCN. I would expect that LTC moves up before most of the market, right? And I think BCH will as well. They both have a tendency, and last cycle and this cycle, they have both at times led the markets, both in going down, topping off first, and bottoming out first, moving up. So we absolutely could see this stuff, and I expect that we will see this very soon, right? Genuinely, I know it sounds crazy. It's going to be the 29th tomorrow. Oh no, that's a Monday. That's a Sunday. I keep thinking that it's Sunday now, but it's Saturday. Okay, so probably not by the end of the month, because it would be the 30th on a Monday. Probably not by the end of the month will we see this 382 being hit, but the first, second week of October, certainly I would expect that we're here, and then by the end of October, I would believe that we could see prices up here. As crazy as it sounds, all the downside that we've seen over the months now, it's time for some upside, guys. And this thing, just like BCHG, just like any Grayscale trust, when it moves up, it likes to do it fast. So genuinely, in as little as like not even a month's time, we could see prices that are near double where they are now. But that's enough bullish hopium at the moment. Let's just keep it simple and basic. The daily RSI looks good. What you're doing in the price action right now looks good, especially relative to this fib. I like what you're doing with the 236 there. Weekly RSI, finding support above the oversold zone is a good thing. At the 35, not too conventional, though you've done it before. You found resistance in this area before, support in this area before, so we'll take it. Getting overbought and not getting oversold is a sign of strength. Even in your areas of weakness right now, you are showing strength, so that's good, right? As contrary as that might feel, being that we've dropped from $54 went as low as $9, right? Let's see. From this relative low to this relative high, we hit the 618 golden ratio, double bottomed off it, beautiful, looks really good. From the overall low to high, we have hit the 0.5, which isn't a normal area to find support, but it is in tandem with this area of support over here, so I think it's fine. It looks good. Looks good on a weekly basis, looks good on a daily basis. Absolutely, sorry. I believe it's going to move higher. I've had a hard time talking tonight. I don't know why. I know why, but I prefer not to say. High to low here. Let's see. I mean, other than, I gotta admit, man, other than this little bit of living below the 382, this overall move looks really strong. Like if you just held this area, man, it would have looked super strong. It can still produce really, really strong price action. The fact that you didn't interact with the 236 is nice. I will say that, but kind of going below the 382, that's not a normal thing to do. And if you do that, this not normal thing, you normally get right back above it if you want to see continuation up there. So that is a little different, but I'm not worried about the price action at all. Really what you did was you found support on this green line, this 123 moving average on your weekly basis. You found support on there, which again, from this low to this high, your last like kind of discernible low to high, is a relative 618 area, also coming into line with the previous area of support back here. You've got a lot of support going on back here. So it might not make sense from a fib perspective per se, but it makes sense from an overall perspective, I would say. But it would have looked nicer if you held this. So, but who cares what I think, right? Long story short, I would expect your next interaction with this area is short-lived. You're probably going to pierce right through it, right? If you don't do it immediately, maybe you consolidate for a second, maybe you pull back a little bit or go down. It's not going to be a double top. It might fake people out into thinking it's a double top, but it won't be. Or perhaps we'll just tear through it because, again, it is the second interaction, so maybe we do just tear through it. After you move above this high, the target areas to focus on would be around like 145 to 255, something like that. And then, beyond that, I don't know if we're going to see $2,000 or $4,000 by the end of this cycle. We could. Maybe it's possible. But with the private placement sales, I do think that these prices might be held back. I don't know. There's a bunch of different theories on that, whether it's good, whether it's bad. I mean, not many people think it's good, but some people do think that it has little effect at all on where the price will go. So I don't know. It remains to be seen, but I genuinely do believe that Litecoin, LTCN, will see a new high, a new all-time high that it's never seen before. I'm skeptical as to believe if it's going to be like above. I think it could reach 2,000. I just don't know if it would reach too much higher than that, but time will tell. Anyways, a little perspective for the future. You know what to expect in the short term, right? So that's that. Let's see. GSOL for Paulo. Nope, not gas. Gas and oil futures, you guys, just so you know. Looks like it wants to move up, actually. Just for fun. Yes, yeah, actually it does look like it wants to move up. Wow. Sideways, really, but moving on. Anyways, okay. Not what we were trying to talk about. Gas, Grayscale. Sorry, Solana, GSOL. There we go. On a weekly basis, looking very strong, actually looking like it wants continuation as well. I like that you didn't get oversold. We've already gone over why that's a bullish thing. Like getting back above the 50 is nice to see. Relative high here to the relative low there. Let's get a closer look at this thing. You are right at the 618 right now. And what I love about it is yesterday you pierced the veil and today you're there again. If you don't reject, oh, I'm sorry, I said yesterday and then today. It's Saturday. Thursday, were you not open on Friday? Yes, you were. Okay, so Thursday and Friday. Yesterday you were here. The day before that you were there. Okay. Okay. If you don't reject down immediately on Monday, if you don't move down immediately, you might see a move directly to the 786, 886 zone. Starting next week, literally starting next week. It could be by the end of next week, if not the following week. I would assume in a very short amount of time, right? It does look like you're moving up pretty fast. You could be set up for some kind of V-shaped recovery here. And if the V, it depends on where the V started. If it started up here, you could be going all the way up here. Oftentimes, though, that's like a sucker kind of look. I wouldn't say that's a V there because you had this big move down here. This could be the V, the beginning of the V, right? But maybe it's not a V-shaped recovery because V-shaped recoveries tend to be pretty equal on the way down as they are on the way up. And it's pretty equal, but this is noticeably slower, I would say. I don't know. You'd have to start moving up soon. And what I'm trying to get at with the whole idea of this V-shaped recovery is if it started here, generally speaking with the V-shaped recovery, you go back to where it started and a little bit through it, which would match the idea that you're crowding the 618 right now. Perhaps you pierce through it and go to your 786, 886 area. Perhaps you exceed the beginning part of your V-shaped recovery, if it is that at all. I don't know. I think you want to move higher. That's all I'm saying. That's probably going to be the case for all of these, actually. Daily RSI looks really good. Weekly RSI looks fine. Yeah, next target's going to be between 470 to 504. And then after that, you know, when we interact with that 500 area, we can start talking about these targets above $660. But until then, I just want to see. I'm a bit more skeptical with GSOL and Solana just because there's so much like FUD and shade around Solana right now. I tend not to believe the FUD, right? But I do think Solana is overhyped. And it seems to me like the market is kind of catching wind of that. I've thought that for a while. It is overhyped, but it's had its use. It's had its use. Like absolutely, even whenever I found it useful, I still thought it was overhyped like over a year ago, right? With like the fact that you can use decentralized exchanges or means of exchange at a dramatically lower price with Solana than you can Ethereum. There's use case there, but that's really it. Like it's got flaws, it's got issues, it definitely does. And I do think it's overhyped, and I do think that there will be something better that comes along and takes its place. And again, I think the market's catching wind of that now, and that could hinder Solana's growth, therefore hindering GSOL's growth. But I'm not 100% on that. Again, that I want that to not be taken. Take a very heavy spoonful of salt with that, right? Like don't take that at like I don't know. Don't take that to heart. Don't take that as a prediction of the future. Solana might be the best performing coin of the cycle still, right? Like it could still see a lot of growth. Generally speaking, whenever you're in the top 20 and there's a lot of FUD surrounding you, that's whenever you shine the brightest. So Solana really could take off. Again, I'm just not talking about these higher prices yet. Talking about them, but not really going over them so much until I see what we do with this $500 area, 504 to be specific, okay? When we break above that, that proves to me, okay, all the haters are wrong, we're going up. If we find resistance there and we go back below the 618 area, I'd be like, okay, they might be right. We've got two lower highs now. Going below the 618, statistically likely to see a new low. The haters might be right, you know, but as of right now, I would say I more do expect that we move up to the upside. I just want to wait until we get that validation at the 886. So for now, 412 is your price, $505 is the goal. I think you're on your way. It's just when, maybe over the next couple of weeks, maybe over the next month. It's hard to say, but I would think probably sometime in October. GSOL. FILG. FILG moving up slowly. Oh, so slowly. Taking its time. Not a whole lot of liquidity. That's why you get this like spotty, jumpy price action, right? High to low. above the 236. So automatically I would assume that you at least go up to 73 bucks again. You're at 48. If this is what we're expecting it to be, which is like the end of this kind of bearish phase across the markets, I want to say because of how high FILG went, like let's look at this. From this low here to where that high is, that's already a 7x, right? And this thing's already at a pretty intense premium. It's possible that FILG could not see a higher high, right? It is possible. And that 7x for a Grayscale trust is not, or actually that's about an 8x. That's not a lot to ask for. That kind of stuff can happen very fast. But again, this thing's at such a high premium already. I'm just skeptical of it seeing phenomenal growth in a short amount of time based on that. And I don't think Filecoin's going anywhere anytime soon. I mean, it is going to move up. But like, look, right? Like, it hasn't really done much with itself. It's been very boring. Right, back in February, that's when it was exciting. I don't know. If Filecoin, if and when it does get above this high, that I guess would be a cause to rally behind the idea that we do see new highs in this chart. I don't know. I think it's possible because I do believe Filecoin will go above this high. I don't believe it'll go to new all-time highs. I think it'll probably stop around 80 bucks, if not at least like 45 bucks. But we're at 4 bucks now, so that's a 10x. So definitely FILG. I take it back. I definitely do believe it can see new highs. But again, it's at an intense premium, so just be aware of that. Very spotty, very low liquidity. Be aware of that, right? From the current price, by the end of the cycle, you could expect to see maybe a 17x, maybe a 40-something x, maybe something higher. This one, it ran a lot right back in February, back in this like October 2023 to February 2024 timeframe. Could it run a lot again? It absolutely could. But again, I just think out of all these Grayscale trusts that we've gone over so far, I would think Filecoin might be the biggest one to underperform. I think it'd be Filecoin underperforms, Solana's next, then LTCN, then BCHG is the top performer, just out of the 4 we've gone over so far. Sorry, the underlying assets. Filecoin, I think, will underperform the most. Solana, I think, would be the next one to perform it would perform better than Filecoin, but not as good as LTCN. LTCN would be second place. BCHG would be first place. That's my thoughts on that, right? I keep saying LTCN and BCHG. I mean the underlying assets. But man, before I make this video any more confusing than it is, all I'm trying to say is I don't expect Filecoin to be a bright and shining star this cycle. Therefore, it makes me skeptical of how high this thing can really go. Will it see 100x? It's possible. Could it see a multi-100x? It's possible. Will it not even see a new high? It's possible. It's probably less likely than I thought it was. You know, might it only see only see a 17x or a 44x? Maybe. It's hard to say. But for the relative time frame here, daily RSI looks fine. Neutral, actually kind of sad. Neutral and bad, actually. What you need to do right now is you need to not go lower. You need to hold these higher lows. You need to keep moving up and really get into this bullish area of control. Get above this area that's been holding you down in the RSI, right? You need to get above that 60 area is what it looks like. A little bit above 60, whatever. Get above that 60 area, stay above there, because if not, FILG does run the risk, I think, of going lower. I actually don't like that daily RSI, but you don't like it oftentimes whenever it's at the turning point, right? And you can like it as much as you want oftentimes when it's at its like turning point here too, right? Like it looks very bullish over here, and that was at the top. Looks pretty bad over here. That could be at the bottom. So I don't know. And of course, this is way more overbought than this ever got oversold. Of course, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying the overall look of the RSI right now looks pretty bad, right? The overall look of the RSI back here looked pretty damn good. Yeah. I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt just because of the rest of the market and because I think your underlying asset's going to move up as well. So I'll give you the benefit of the doubt, FILG, but don't disappoint me. Don't prove me wrong here, okay? Hold these lows. Okay, don't go lower than like 38 bucks, and I think you're good. I think you're on your way to like somewhere between $70 and $80 really fast. You're at 48 now. But then ultimately, yes, I do have faith that you're going to go to new highs. But first, let's see how you interact with this $289, $288 area there. Okay. Let's see if you can break that. And that's all I got to say, guys. You know what? We're going to, that's all I'm going to say. If you like the video, hit that like button, subscribe if you want to see more content. Thank you all for being here. I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Bye.